It's 8 PM on a Sunday evening, and that means it's time for Retro Sundays. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to a new episode, the return of Retro Sundays. And today we are playing F105, also known as F1 2005, and also known as Formula 1 2005, both with Formula 1 as a number and Formula 1 as letters. I think that's very much self-explanatory. Absolutely not. Anyway, F1 2005 we are playing today, released for the PS2 only a PS2 release, exclusive to the Sony console. Released in Europe on the 1st of July 2005. Now, I'm not exactly sure why this happened, because funnily enough, it's a little bit like this year with the new Formula 1 game. In previous years, Studio Liverpool had released the games the end of September, it looks like, for a few years running, and then released this one at the start of July. So I'm not particularly sure why that happened, but if I would have recorded this a week after, we would have actually been pretty much bang on for the release of F105 in terms of being the 14-year anniversary. Now, it features the career mode concept that was in F104. And on the cover we've got, and it's a bit bizarre, I don't think we'd see this these days, we've got Jenson Button, David Coulthard and Narain Karthikeyan. That's kind of the equivalent now of having, I don't know, maybe Max Verstappen in the Honda, the Red Bull, so they were a mid-running team. Who could that be? I suppose Red Bull were a fancy pants new team then, so that's understandable, but the Jordan obviously be Robert Kubica, and then the Red Bull would perhaps be a mid-running, so, I don't know, someone like Sergio Perez, for example, in that Racing Point. So that would be quite a bizarre cover, but not going to really go through the career mode, not really fussed about that today. As with F104, there are classic cars in the game, so like the Williams FW11 from 1986, and those are unlocked once certain terms are fulfilled, so winning the World Championship, etc, etc, and helmets for helmets for career mode are unlocked. And there is a hidden track, the Detroit Street Circuit. Okay, cool. And then because this game was developed before the change in the quali regulations midway through the 05 season, the game does run the original aggregated times format. Yeah, so first time in a number of years, the fans agree this was a massive improvement in the series. Now I think it was the 5th year running, was it since 01 or 02 that Studio Liverpool made these games, and this was a big improvement and the shot in the arm that the series had desperately needed. A lot of people had previously criticised, and by the way, Wikipedia is fantastic sometimes. I'm not making this up. It's all on the Wikipedia page, word for word. A lot of people had criticised Studio Liverpool for the lack of ambition and progress since the series appeared on the PS2 platform, so from 01 onwards, and that great strides have been made in terms of gameplay, handling, and AI. However, there were criticisms with AI being too easy on the hardest settings, and what I hate most about this game and the games that followed it was that the penalty system, basically, you went wide at a corner, you didn't have a drive for anything, they just slowed down your revs for 6 seconds, which proper got on my nerves. But anyway, a lot of people said that it was great, and that it was a stepping stone for the 2006 edition. Now, interestingly, the 2006 edition, there were technically 2 games. You had F106, which came out on the PS2, which is basically F1 Championship Edition. Now, what a lot of people don't realise is that F1 Championship Edition, which was released for the PS3, was actually meant to technically be F1 2007. But I think that basically, it was released as a... I don't think it was released as a PS3 title release, but it was released sort of when the PS3 came out, and they hadn't developed the 2007 cars, all that sort of thing. So unfortunately, we missed out on a 2007 game and a 2008 game. But I've stopped waffling now, and let's see the intro sequence for F105. I'll probably get a copyright claim as well for I think it's Muse who perform on this. Yeah, that's all I'm going to let Muse say, because I don't want a copyright claim, but this is the intro to F105. Admittedly, I haven't really ever played this one. I was much more of a fan of F1 2006 and Championship Edition, and probably the earlier games before that, so I don't think I've played this one that much, but that is just the stock F105 car. Looks a lot like the Honda. That's why I was thinking, is that the Honda team? But no, it's just like a stock F105 car. But a very interesting intro we got here. Effectively the Studio Liverpool car. Looks very nice. But yeah, we'll watch this intro through. I think a lot of people, as they said, it was a big step for Studio Liverpool. I think the previous games were really, they felt like they were old games, but the likes of Championship Edition and this as well, I mean, the graphics, if you look, aren't that bad. And it's still playable today, whereas obviously older games probably aren't. But there's Jenson, there's the Williams, probably, oh, there we go, well, there's the other side of Formula 1, which I'm not going to comment on. But, yeah, we've got Jenson again, the Williams again, the Renault. Of course, Fernando Alonso's first World Championship of 2 this was. Oh, that's the Williams off, that's not very good. But any other teams mentioned in this intro? Interestingly not, so far. Anyway, we haven't got the Ferrari or anything like that in there. Obviously, the Ferrari being a very close challenger, particularly of Michael Schumacher, to Fernando Alonso and Giancarlo Fisichella in 05. But the Honda was a pretty good car as well. Jenson really did well in that car. I think it was it still Takuma Sato though that year? I think it might have just been Barrichello, but we'll find out a bit later on. That's glorious. I mean, to be fair, for 14 years ago, these graphics aren't that shoddy. To be fair, are they? You know, they are, I think, probably premium PS2 graphics in terms of you weren't going to get much better than this. This is pretty good for the console it was on, and as has been said on the Wikipedia page, it is very good in terms of the potential. But there we go, there's the Ferrari, finally, and of course he was the world champion the year before that, and that's where we're ending because you know I can't be bothered. But yeah, this is the first time I've played F105 on this PS2. I did pick it up, I think inside CEX for 50p, I think. But there we go. Look at this, we can make our play, so we might as well entertain this and make our own play. I mean, just the menu sounds are so nostalgic with F1 Championship Edition, for example. This is fantastic. Now, I haven't really decided that, well, I have decided, but I haven't explained to you guys exactly why I've done this weekend, because there's usually a reason why I do certain retro games on certain weekends, and this weekend I thought, well, it's the French Grand Prix. Of course, on this game it would be, and it will be, at Manicourt rather than Paul Ricard. Yeah, we'll just go with... Oh, that looks pretty cool. We'll just go with the first head that's available. But, yeah, it is the French Grand Prix. And one of my favourite drivers, who is the only current driver who is actually in this game. Of course, that's Kimi Raikkonen. I'm sure he is. I don't think I'm wrong there, because Vettel and Hamilton are now the longest serving apart from him. And, of course, they didn't come until 07. So, yeah, it's only Kimi that's surviving from this game. And in 2005, in Manicourt, Kimi came from 12th on the grid to finish in second. I'm sure it was 2005. I don't see why I'd have picked it otherwise. But there we go. We've got a very nice menu here. Let's get into an instant race. So let's go for the McLaren. So we'll go for the teams first and the drivers. So Ferrari, we've got Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. We're still at Ferrari, so it's Takuma Sato, Button's teammate at Honda at this point. Of course, it was Felipe Massa in 2006 that joined in there. BAR was Jenson Button and Takuma Sato, as I said earlier. Renault, Fernando Alonso, of course, taking his first championship, and Giancarlo Fisichella, his teammate. Williams was Mark Webber, and not quite Rosberg yet. Who would it have been? It's Nick Heidfeld. I wouldn't have guessed that. McLaren, Kimi Raikkonen got to be, yeah, Coulthard. No, not Coulthard, Montoya. Yeah, but again, 2006 was Coulthard at McLaren. Oh, was it? Yeah. No, it wasn't. That's a lie. That was way before that. No, 2006. Yeah, Coulthard was at Red Bull, that's right. Sauber, Villeneuve, and Massa. Red Bull, there we go, Coulthard, Christian Klein. And then Toyota, we've got Trulli and, Ralf Schumacher, okay. Jordan, Montero, and Karthikeyan. And then Minardi, Albers, and Freisacker. And then we are back to the top. But, of course, we're going to do a race at Manicourt. And then we are going to go to the great race. Arguably not the great race. That was, yeah, what was it now? It was Indianapolis, where we had the whole drama about... I'm going to put the difficulty on easy, but the AI speed on medium, just to see how we get on. But of course that race was an interesting one to say the least. There was only 6 people that started it. That was the 2 Ferraris, the 2 Jordans, and who else? Was it the 2 Minardis that started that race as well? I forgot, to be honest. But that was a very controversial race because some of them were on Bridgestone tyres, some of them were on Michelin tyres, and I think it was the Michelin tyres that weren't safe. So of course everyone didn't bother racing. And it was just it was a complete farce, really. It was a joke of a race. And that's really what ended Formula 1 in Indianapolis. But this is the Manicourt track. Personally, one of my favourite tracks on the calendar of all time. It's just a real charm about Manicourt for me. And I was gutted when we're going back to the French Grand Prix. Oh, we're going back to Manicourt now. We're going back to Paul Ricard. Oh, right. But I'll shut up and we'll see what I presume James Allen's got to say about the start of the race. Oh, right. We're starting already. That's a little bit of a shame. We have no... James Allen introduction. We might not have one all together, but let's start this. We've got the... oh, this feels a little bit nicer, because on previous games it was just the arrow keys, if you like, that you could press to just check that square is the brake. This feels, actually, to be fair, not too bad, I'll be completely honest. This is pretty decent to drive. I mean, obviously I haven't played this for a long time, so it's going to feel a little bit clunky, but I have to say, this feels really nice. And on most of these games, when I did my F1 2001 Retro Sunday, it felt really clunky, because it was like, oh my goodness me, we're off at basically every corner, and I say that, and we've had a bit of a spin there, probably because we braked and hit someone. It was like, oh, we can't possibly cope with that. But we have got past Felipe Massa. We were past him anyway, and I think that's another Sauber of... Was it Heidfeld? No, it wasn't Heidfeld. Who was it now? Jacques Villeneuve, I think, in that Sauber. 2005 is not a year I'm particularly familiar with. Again, I was only born in 01. I know a lot about 06 is because I played a hell of a lot of Championship Edition. Probably 99 is more of a knowledgeable year because of F1 Manager. And that will have to be a Retro Sunday game at some point, F1 Manager. What a fantastic game that is for the PC. Great move on Villeneuve. I mean, the AI are on medium, I think, so we're not doing too shabby, apart from going way wide that corner and just losing any sort of progress we made. We've actually tapped the wheel of Felipe Massa, but the contact physics and everything else are pretty good, actually. Of course, this last corner now being different to what it would be. Oh, I'll tell you what, the braking's a little bit tricky. Oh, that Jordan's gone up the inside. The braking's a little bit suspect, actually. Well, not suspect, but I'll tell you what is suspect. Narain Karthikeyan being up in 14th. Now, don't worry. Actually, no, Jarno Trulli is in 15th. I was about to say, I thought that'd be Ralf Schumacher, because I did change Ralf Schumacher to start in 20th place. As you can hear, you've got Martin Brundle.
Right on his tail. We can see the Ferrari mechanics preparing from our commentary box window. They'll be bringing in one of their cars this lap. We can see plenty of activity down in the McLaren garage now. We can see the Jordan mechanics out in the pit lane now.
Great commentary from these two. I'm not the biggest James Allen fan, but he has to be synonymous with F1 games, of course. Now we've just got David Croft. I mean, I'd rather have Jonathan Ledyard, my backside. Jonathan Ledyard than David Croft, but I'm not a big fan of James Allen, but he is so synonymous with these games. Of course, Maury Walker commentated on them for a time, but it was only till he retired from commentating that he actually did that. Let's try up the inside of Felipe. That's a bit dirty, but we're not going to get penalised for it, so that's okay. But I actually feel this is pretty decent. I'm going to be honest, this feels pretty nice. And I'm sure it's one I could get used to, and I have to say, I think that people are right that Studio Liverpool have come a long way. A lot of people coming into the pits, so we'll pit lit later on. I don't know when we've got to come in the pits, I presume fairly soon, so we'll try out the interactive pit stops in a little while. Now we've got 7 laps on the table here, so we might finish this race. I don't see why not. I didn't know what he said there, but I presume it's pit for new tyres, because everybody else has. So yeah, we'll have to find that out, but a bit quicker in that sector, a 10th quicker, lock the brakes there, but I have to say, it's not all that unrealistic, I would argue, this isn't really. It feels pretty nice, and just the way we can change the wheel and the sensitivity of that is a lot more reminiscent of real games and newer games now. And the only problem is, which is the problem with all these old games, because you didn't have triggers on these old consoles, is that you have to hold down X to, I suppose you can do it with the analog stick, to accelerate and decelerate, but that's never something I've been totally enamoured with, so that's one thing that the game can't really help itself doing. But what a great game this is. I could probably sit down and play this for quite a while and go down the memory lane. I mean, we're not the best here, we're bound to make 1 or 2 mistakes, that's fairly obvious, but what a great game this is. Alonso's in the pits, we'll join him. Let's have a look at the interactive pit stops. Whoa! Oh, okay. Bloody hell, calm down, Williams. Jeepers. Right, these are the great interactive pit stops. I loved these. Right, circle. I got really good at these at one point. Circle again. Square. Oh, okay. Of course, no tyre change, just fuel. I need to change the tyres, just fuel. So, I wonder what the 3 gauges are then on the left-hand side, the blue. Whoa! Jeepers. That the BAR stopped out on track or was going slow. We probably got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, something ridiculous like that. But Jesus Christ, that was crazy. But I'm glad I picked this game. This is probably a really good one. I think that we could maybe do a comparison at some point. I'd quite like to do that. Maybe a comparison of F105 and F106. Or obviously a comparison of the earlier games. Or maybe just do a video where we compare, because I have got them all bar F104. But I'm sure I could pick up some footage of that where we compare 01, 02, 03, 04, 05 and 06. If that's something you guys would like to see, let me know down in the comments. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Retro Sundays video. I could just plonk it on the channel. But I think comparing those games would be something I'd really, really love to do. Just to see how far the games have come. Because I think the fascinating thing, and the one big inspiration for me for Retro Sunday, of course, bar the, what's the word, the nostalgic point of view in going back to playing some of these games. The other bit of it is looking at how far games have come since then. Obviously, now we've got, you know, F1 2019 coming out next week, and of course looks a lot better than this, but equally, it's because of the console it's on. 1080p, 60 frames per second, bear in mind this was only 25 frames per second, I believe. So, they had a lot more to work with, did have Codemasters now, rather than Studio Liverpool back in the day. And I'm sure Studio Liverpool, I don't know if they're still a company, I think they're dissolved, because they're just a subsidiary of Sony, because it's either known as Sony Studio Liverpool or SCE Studio Liverpool, which of course is an acronym for Sony Computer Entertainment. So I'm not sure whether that folded, because obviously this would have been an exclusive release for the PlayStation, because it was created by a Sony company. It's like saying if F1 was made by Microsoft these days, they wouldn't let it be, well, they probably would these days, to be fair, but they wouldn't let it on the PS4. But back in the day, I think the PS2 was a much more popular console than the Xbox, so they could have afforded these companies to just do exclusive games. I suppose we have to say, oh, whoopsie daisy, sorry Alonso, I'll just get you in the right direction again. Of course, Alonso and Kimi, two of the greats of Formula 1 in my opinion, neither of them being a world championship before this point. That's absolutely crazy. But we're not doing too badly here, apart from going off on the odd occasion. Be interested to see who wins this race, though. How many laps we've got left? We've got 2 laps, so I won't bore you anymore, because I want to do one more race today, so I'll just skip to the end and see what the final results are. Just going back, I love these official replays. I really do. You got a real sense of joy watching these, especially with the, when you had, I think it was 06, might not be in this one, might only be in 06 or Championship Edition, where you could actually make a race, and kind of like R Factor almost, and set up a race and watch it. And that was fascinating for me, because you've got the commentary from James Allen, Martin Brundle, and genuinely it was quite realistic. And I know we're talking about another game now, but for Championship Edition, which was what, 13 years ago now, maybe 12 if it was released in 07, and despite it being for the PS3, it felt really realistic, because it was just fresh, the graphics were the same as usual. And of course, effectively, it was actually in a better resolution than Formula 1 was in real life, because of course, F1 wasn't broadcast in HD, I don't believe, until it was on the BBC, and that would probably have been in, what, maybe about 2011? So, in 2007, people seeing things in HD was like, wow, but then I suppose, probably back in those times, did people have HD telly? So I think that, not so much the PS3, but I know the Xbox 360 was broadcast through an AV cable, the same as a PS2 and the original Xbox at one point. I'm sorry if I'm boring you with all this chat about previous consoles, but some of you will be loving it, so it's a 50-50. But I haven't done a Retro Sundays episode for a long time, so this gives me the chance to natter about some of the things I love, and these being the old consoles. But we're going to see if we're going to make a move on Alonso. If not at this corner, I will just skip to the end of the race. I know I said earlier we would, but lovely slipstream on the Renault. We do tap the back of him, but we now are up to 6th place, if we can get the car stopped, that is, and that's great into that corner. Well, you'll never guess who's won. It's that man who's won the most. Again, Mr. Schumacher. He's won the race. We nearly took Jenson Button. Well, we did, temporarily. And then he took us back. So we finished in 6th. Let's have a look at the final race classifications, though. So Michael Schumacher won the race of Ferrari, followed by Barrichello. Then Montoya in the McLaren finished 3rd. We finished 6th. So it was another Renault. It was the first Renault in 4th, the first Honda in 5th, and the McLaren in 6th. And then the last point scorers were Alonso and Sato. And now we're going to go to the Indianapolis race to relive what could possibly be one of the most controversial races in Formula 1 history. We are now successfully able to recreate the 2005 Indy Grand Prix, apart from the fact that we've got 20 runners. But we've tried the best, as you can imagine. We've got the Minardis, we've got the Jauns, we've got the Ferraris. Of course, the Ferraris on the front row. Karthikeyan started in 5th. Let's go and win this thing. I mean, that could be a bit of a strong thing to try and do, but a great start from Narain Karthikeyan. Only 3 laps here, so a bit of a sprint race. I'd take a podium, though. It was our teammate who's in front of us, Tiago Montero, took the podium. It was like almost back in, I suppose we have to use the analogy of when we had the 3 new teams in F1, Virgin, HRT and Lotus. It would be the analogy of, say, well, Red Bull were most dominant through that time. So it would be Vettel and Webber running out the front, and then Karun Chandok, Bruno Senna, Timo Glock, and who was the other one in 2010? Lucas Di Grassi fighting for the podium. Who would have got that podium? Probably Glock. Probably Glock. But I suppose if it was the Lotus team were better than the Virgin and HRT team. So I suppose it might have been Jarno Trulli or Ivor Kovalainen. You can make the case for either of them. And we've hit the Ferrari. Definitely not intentionally there, of course. But if you've got to get him out of the way, it's like go-karting. But there you go. But the AI is on medium. So I suppose you could say that, well, they reckons that, I suppose it's, again, people said that the AI were much too easy on the hardest difficulty. Again, I suppose that they're not easy enough at the moment. But equally, if you played this game a lot, it's like all games. If you play a game a lot, then you get used to it. And it's a bit of a stinker, especially with racing games, if there isn't really any competition. I know that all too well from some games. But that's a motorbike starting outside. Wrong game. That's MotoGP. That's next week. But I don't know when that's coming, actually. But if you are new to the Retro Sunday series, we do play, or will play now because it's returned, a retro game every... Oh, hang on. We've got the press for Ferrari. Can we go for the other one? That is a cheeky dive up the inside, but we are leading... Oh, never mind. We were leading the US Grand Prix round the outside. Oh, cheeky from MSC. Can we keep it round the outside? Can't keep the accelerator on. Just got to do a block pass round here. As Schumacher got it back. Way, we're leading the Indianapolis Grand Prix. I should be careful we keep this. But if I was continuing my promotion. As it is Sunday, it's Retro Sunday. And, oh dear, we've gone wide. Just got to keep him behind now, I suppose. But make sure you go on the playlist. On the end screen of the video, there will be a playlist showing all of the Retro Sunday videos. And there are plenty there. They're all assorted by the number of views they've got. So technically, they are assorted by the popularity of the game. So there's about 20 videos in there and a lot of crackers that I'm sure you will enjoy. And hopefully, in the next few weeks, we can add to that playlist with equally more good games that you guys will enjoy. And if you've got any recommendations or suggestions for the next Sunday's video, I'm more than happy to hear them. I do record these maybe 1 or 2 days in advance, so you'll just have to let me know fairly quickly after this video comes out what you want. And of course, if I haven't got it, then I will struggle. But I do have a PS1 emulator, so if you guys want to see anything on the PS1, I am more than happy to sort that out. But in terms of PS2 games, unless I physically own them, it would be a little bit of a struggle. But going around the few corners now, we are whooping Michael Schumacher. Could you imagine the jubilation among the fans if we won this race? They'd be loving it, especially if 20 people ran. But as you can see, the Ferrari team in this game anyway, so dominant, running away from everyone. I know that they started a long way in front of everyone, so it's a little bit unrealistic to say that they have run away. But at the same token, nobody else has caught them, apart from the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Narain Karthikeyan. And he comes around the final corner. Eddie Jordan is on the grandstand. Well, he's not on the grandstand, but he's on the pit wall, having a heart attack practically, because his driver is 3 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, about to win the race for Jordan. We come round the final corner. Is it going to be a win? It should be, unless our tyres blow off, but it is turn 13, so in 2005 I wouldn't be surprised. And a bad race is marred by the Jordan winning, and we have won the Indianapolis Grand Prix. Just look at that. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Narain. There we go. Brilliant stuff. So other drivers, Button managed to be best of the rest. Actually, no, Sato was best of the rest, sorry. And then Freisacker fell down by quite a margin. Do we have a podium ceremony? If we do, we're going to have to watch this. There might not be, but there might be as well. Let's have a look. Is there? Oh, there's not. We have got a classic car. That's cool. Lotus 79. Win a race in any mode. So we get the Lotus 79 for that. That's cool. If we ever come back to this game, I'll definitely have a look at that. But a very nice car. Of course, the John Player special colours on that car. Lovely stuff. We're just looking, do we have a podium ceremony? Be a shame if we don't. I can't remember in this game whether there was or not. I'm sure, I know there was in 06. So I don't see why there wouldn't be in 05. No, straight back to the menus. That's a bit of a shame. But that's where we're going to end it today, folks. I hope you have enjoyed today's Retro Sundays. As I said, if you've got any suggestions of what we can play next, leave them down in the comments. But until next Sunday, enjoy your retro gaming day. And until then, thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Goodbye for now.